What's good, peeps? Thanks as always for passing by the channel, much appreciated. Hit that subscribe button if you guys are new. Don't forget as well, please, to like and share the videos. Thank you for everyone who's getting involved, and I hope you're all doing well. I know it's a bit depressing right now with the whole, there's a lot of snow right now, so a lot of people are snowed in, and we're in lockdown again still. Seems to just be going on forever right now. It's crazy, like next month it's March, and like we've now been in lockdown so much that like it doesn't even feel, it feels so long since that. It's just mad. Nearly a year of just lockdowns, and we're still, you know, we're in the exact same spot. So fair to say I'm over it, like, but yeah. But either way, there's a couple of good things I wanted to talk about. There's a couple of fight cards happening this weekend. It sees the return of Matchroom boxing with Josh Warrington, which it's been interesting what's been happening with him. And the UFC have got another card happening with Kamaru Usman defending his title. So I thought, you know, neither of these are particularly like big, so they warrant their own video. So I thought I'd take each one and talk about them both in the same video, because I just enjoy it. This is my passion after all. I love talking about boxing and MMA and stuff like that. So yeah, let's just have a look at, see what each card offers, and make some predictions on who I think is going to win. So on, I believe it's tomorrow night, we've got Josh Warrington versus Lara. I read somewhere, I think, where's that article, that Josh Warrington has in fact, yeah, here it is. He has now vacated his IBF belt due to his desire to chase the Zhu Khan or the Guy Russell Jr. fight rather than face Kid Galahad again. I'm not sure how Kid Galahad is now a mandatory again, because he lost last time. That was a hard fought win for Josh Warrington. But personally, I think it'll be actually harder for him to get them fights without the belt. The belt does add a bit of kind of prestige to you. And especially the IBF, who are actually very rigid. I know the IBF, you have to face your mandatories, otherwise they will strip you. So I don't know, but I suppose on the other side is, when fans return, Josh Warrington has that pulling power because you know, he can sell out Elland Road easily. So that'll be when he gets back into the sort of bigger cards, when he can finally have fans back. For now, he goes up against this guy called Lara, who I have to be honest, I didn't know about. He's got a record of 21-2, but looking at his resume, I looked at his resume earlier, and there was no one on there that I recognised, nobody at all. And some of them had more defeats than victories, and he's actually only fought outside of Mexico once. So to me, this is quite poor in terms of the level of opponent that I expect for Josh, really. Because if you look at Josh's resume, it is solid, especially the last, you know, kind of 4 fights. Lee Selby, Carl Frampton, Kid Galahad, then you had that gimme fight against Tukut, or whatever his name is. You know, I know he's vacated the belt, but surely you've got to have a better opposition than this. Because that Tukut guy I'd also not heard of, and he only gave Warrington 2 rounds, and before Warrington KO'd him. So that should have been his easy fight, and then this one should have been him getting back into the fold with the kind of more higher ranked opposition, so he can kind of get himself up there. So it's a shame he gave up the title, but it was clear that he wasn't interested in facing Galahad again, because I know that fight was close. You know, I did give it a Josh, but if you were someone who would argue that that was a draw or giving it to Galahad, then I would totally see what you were coming from, because it was a very, very close fight. It could have gone either way. The judges basically had full control of it. This fight will keep Josh busy, but I think he might actually beat him up badly if he's in a spiteful mood, because I really don't see this Lara guy offering him much. So I'm going to go with a 4th round knockout for Josh Warrington. I highly doubt this will go past 5 at all. Highly doubt it. The co-main event on there is Zelfa Barrett versus Kiko Martinez. I'm actually, yeah, this one I think could be the best fight on the card, really. Martinez, who we saw get KO'd by Gary Russell Jr. a couple of years ago, he's also fought Josh Warrington in 2017, and he lost on points, I believe. Martinez is getting a bit on now. He's 34. He hasn't fought anyone on the top level since Gary Russell Jr. And he's going up against the young Zelfa Barrett, who we last saw in the ring in August last year, where he defeated Eric Donovan with a KO of the year contender. That left hook in the 8th round was brilliant. Although Barrett was actually behind on the judges' scorecards when that fight ended. So I'm hoping he's worked on his boxing ability a bit, especially his defence. He needs to work on that, because Donovan was just picking shots off him left, right and centre. But the power that Barrett has got him out of it. I think it was like 6-2, I think the first 6 rounds Donovan won all of them. From what he said about his last performance, he clearly knows where he needs to work on. So it'll be interesting to see what change he's made, because Martinez, he's actually a decent boxer despite his age. That being said though, I don't think Martinez will be able to cope with that power that Barrett has. He might see some early success in some of the early rounds, a bit like what Donovan did. But I think that power is kind of like, it's just a kind of get out of jail free card. It's going to get him that win. Zelfa Barrett is a canny lad as well. I'm liking his attitude when I'm hearing from him. He always comes across like well in interviews. He's humble, he's down to earth, like he's well mannered. He always is, he's really well spoken. So I am actually rooting for him in this fight, and I think he will manage to get a late KO. Maybe round 7 to 9, like he did against Donovan. If he gets a win here as well, it catapults him into that top 15 of the super featherweight division, which is a good division at the moment. So good luck to the lad. I really do wish him well. So I hope he gets the win. Also on that card, I'm not going to go into these too much. We've got Lee Wood versus Reese Moles. That should be a really good fight. Could be a fight of the night one as well. That Dalton Smith versus Ismail Ellis. Hopi Price versus Zahid Hussein, and Ibrahim Nadim versus Johnny Phillips. To be honest, most of those lads I haven't actually heard of. They're kind of young, upcoming prospects, so I honestly couldn't make predictions for them. But I am going for a Josh Warrington to get an early knockout, and Zelfa Barrett to get a late stoppage or a points win. Moving on to the UFC card, which is happening on, I believe it's Saturday, very early Sunday morning sort of time. So I'll have to see if I can watch that. The main event being Kamaru Usman defending against Burns. This one is quite interesting. Usman and Burns are both 5-0 in their last 5 defeats. They both got victories over Tyrone Woodley, for example. Both been looking really good recently. Usman has got 100% takedown defense, which is a really good start. Burns has only got 50%. So this one should be a good and interesting matchup. I mean, I'll say it first. Usman is not my favourite fighter at all in the UFC. I will say it first, he's a boring fighter. He genuinely is. He's probably the most boring in the UFC. And a lot of people have made comments about that. They don't like his style, or his fighting methods, the way he holds the cage, and even his personality. Like his press conferences are like, he doesn't bring any charisma at all. So a lot of people talk about that, and I do think this is an interesting matchup for him. Just because on the feet at range you could favour Burns. I think he could, if he was able to keep Usman away, he could potentially keep the punches coming to win enough points and in that way. But I'm not sure how it'll stay that way though, because Burns is not one he's got an alright gas tank, but put it that way. He also is, and I'll give him props for this, he's a good submission artist. So there is a chance Burns could get a submission win, especially on the ground, maybe. But is Burns going to be able to take Usman down? Again, Usman's takedown defense is very, very good. So it's a tricky one to call. There's a lot of hype behind Burns, but I think it will come down to the better fighter on the night. And with that, you just have to lean towards Usman, because due to the standard of opposition, especially in terms of skill set, in terms of statistics, Usman just is just above Burns. But he's not a finishing though, so I reckon Usman will win it by decision. I think this will be another boring fight. That's why I'm not too keen on watching it, but I will do it in the end, because I'll try and give a review out on Sunday, but I think Usman is literally just going to hold the cage, pick a few punches here and there, and it'll just be another one. People will go online, you'll go on Twitter, go on Instagram the next day, people will be saying, who is this lad? He's not a fake champion, he's not a good champion, you know. But unfortunately that style gets him a win, so it's kind of like, it's boring but it's effective, so who knows. But I think Usman will win by decision. The other big fight which I wanted to talk about that is Kelvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch. Because as this is middleweight, Gastelum is definitely not my favourite here, just how bad he's looked recently. And Heinisch as well is a very likeable fighter. There's a lot of hype behind him. He's very well spoken. He's a good lad. Gastelum is one of those unlucky fighters who's a victim of the MMA weight classes, because he's too big for 170 and he really struggles to make the weight. And if he does, he's like a Ferrari with no engine. But at the same time, he's nowhere near big enough for 185, where people are towering above him. Like when he fought Weidman was so much bigger and just had so much range advantage over him. And that's just because of his stature. Because 170 to 185 is such a big gap, whereas in boxing there's one every few pounds, like 140, 147, 154. So I don't see him winning. He's 2-3 in his last 5 fights, is Kelvin Gastelum. Heinisch as well has looked pretty good recently. He got the KO in his last fight, which was a good performance. So I will lean towards him to get the win by decision. And the co-main event of that is Macy Barber versus Alex Grasso. I'm going to go for Barber to get a decision win on that one, just based on those. That one is a pretty decent fight. I don't know why that's the co-main event and not the Kelvin Gastelum one. I generally don't know. But I think based on work rate alone, I've got to go with Macy Barber, because she is a workhorse when it comes to throwing punches. Also on the main card, we've got Maki Pitolo versus Julian Marquez. That's a tricky one to call, because I think both have been quite inactive recently, especially Marquez. I don't think he's been in the ring for a long time. But Pitolo has not looked very good at all in his past 5 fights. So I'm probably just going to go based on size and power alone, Marquez to win by KO or submission. And then underneath, the other one we've got is Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. Again, a solid matchup. Bobby Green is another one his bad lucks come from judges and bad scoring. There's few in his last recent fights that he's lost where I genuinely have been like, he should have got a win there. I don't know what he's done, if people just don't like him, but he seems quite a likeable guy from the interview, so I will go for Green to win by decision. So that's my kind of like, it's an interesting little fight weekend. There's good boxing card, a good UFC card. Neither of them particularly big enough to warrant their own videos, but that's what I'm going for. Josh Warrington to get a KO victory early, round 4-5. Zelfa Barrett to get a late stoppage, round 7-9. And then on the UFC card, I'm going Usman to get a win by decision. Ian Heinisch to get a win by decision as well. I'll go for that. Macy Barber decision. Marquez to win by KO. I'm actually going to full KO. And Bobby Green to win by decision. So that's just a little prediction video I was going to give, and I'll watch these and hopefully give my kind of thoughts at the Sunday. Also on Monday, I'm going to be doing the first round of 16 video on the Champions League and who I think is going to win, which I can't wait for because I love commenting on the Champions League. And there's a few more fights I've got coming that are coming up, which I'm going to talk about later on. So let me know. I hope you watch the fights as well. I hope you enjoy the fight, and I hope you have a great weekend. Peace.